Hey, everybody, we're going to take a look at Medicare Part D today, and we'll talk also about the new changes coming to 2022. So let's get into it here. All right, so Medicare Part D covers your prescription drugs and medications. Obviously, you know that. That's probably why you're tuning in here. And so the way that Medicare does that is through a four-tier system, and I've got them displayed here. So let's check them out. All right. So you can see here, we've got stage one. This is also called the annual deductible. And you'll see this year it's going up from $445 up to $480. So the way that the drug plans work with their deductibles is that some plans have no deductibles, some have partial of this, but the most that they can have is this year will be $480. And so I know some of you have seen that already on maybe your annual notice of change, but that is the most that a deductible can be this year in $480 is $480. And so the summary of what this stage looks like, you'll see here is that you'll pay for all the medications right here. You pay the total cost of the drugs. Now, the important thing to remember here, because this kind of throws a lot of people off, is that this only applies to tier 3, 4, and 5 medications for most people. You know, Medicare uses a tier system to provide coverage. And so each drug plan can fit every medication that they'd like into tiers 1, 2, 3, or 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Generally, tiers 1 and 2 are generic medications. And so, you know, a lot of the typical maintenance, inexpensive generic medications are going to be tiers 1 and 2. And so you don't need to pay the deductible for those if you have them. You know, I talk to people who will see that and they'll say, I've never paid a dime for my medications, and now I've got a $480 deductible. Well, if they're just, you know, a blood pressure medication or something, and you're using the preferred pharmacy, you won't have to pay that deductible. So that's stage one. And so once you have met that deductible for tier 3, 4, or 5 medications, then we move into this second stage here. We got this right here. Boom. Stage 2. Now, this is called the initial coverage stage. And most people, I think it's like 80% of Medicare enrollees only ever stay in this stage for the calendar year. And the way that, you know, your time in this stage is determined by this number right here. And so you'll see once you're in this stage from 480 up to 443. And so this has gone up. So last year was 4,130. This year, 2022, will be 4,430. And so, you know, this number is based on the retail cost of your medications. I mean, if we're just throwing examples out there, if I talked about inexpensive blood pressure med, if the medication, if the retail cost is $100 for a 30-day supply, whatever, making this up, and you're not paying anything because it's a tier 1 medication, that $100 for a 30-day supply goes towards this 4,430. And so that's why, you know, if you're on one medication and the retail costs $100, obviously at the end of the year, you're only at 1,200, 1,200 for the 12 months, and you're nowhere near getting to this 4,430. And so the summary for this portion, you'll see here, the member pays part, you pay part, and the plan pays part. And so, you know, you pay the co-pays or the co-insurance based on their tier system. So back to those tiers, again, tier 1, tier 2 generic medications often have very little or no co-pays. And so the plan at that point is paying the large majority, if not all of the medications. Some of the higher tier medications will often have like a 43% or 47% where you're paying part and the plan pays part. And that's how it works, again, based on the tier system here. And once you've met this year, 4,430 of retail costs, then you move into stage 3, what is often known as the donut hole. You'll see it here. There it is. Officially, it's often called the coverage gap. And the way that this stage works, stage 3, is once you have, you've paid, again, the retail price of the medication. So you haven't paid this, but the retail price of your meds has met 4,430. You'll see that here. Once you hit that, now you move into stage 3. And so stage 3, the way that this works, the way the coverage gaps works is you need to go from 4,430 up to 7,050, but it changes here. It's a little different and it's a little confusing. You'll see here this little note, based on true out of pocket is what Medicare defines that as. And what that means in this stage 3 and stage 4, but what that means is it is all of these things down here combined. And so your coverage in the coverage gap is that you pay 25% of your medications. So again, I mean, simple math here. If you have a $100 medication, you need to pay $25 for it. Now, where does the rest of that money go? You see that here. The pharmacy in this stage actually discounts 70% off that. And the plan pays the remaining 5%, and you pay 25%. So again, if your medication costs $100, pharmacy, when you're in this stage, changes the price. It gives a discount down to $30. Your plan contributes $5, and you pay the last $25. Now, again, good thing for you, the true out-of-pocket is all of that combined. So it's not just the retail price, it's what the discount, the plan, and you pays. And so once you've reached 7,050, then you tip over into the catastrophic coverage phase. And so this now, people who reach the donut hole early are often really concerned because they're in the donut hole in March. And so 25% right here, that can be a large cost on very expensive medications. But you're not in the donut hole for the rest of the year. This catastrophic coverage, stage 4, is a bit of good news. So once you've reached 7,050, then you tip over into stage 4, and you're just in that for the rest of the year. And the way that the coverage works in this stage is that you pay little and the plan pays most for the rest of the year. Your copays and costs are down here. You can see you pay the greater of, so whichever one is more, either 5% of your medication or these 2 set copays based on brand or generic medications. You can see here they've gone up a little from last year, but again, 5% is very inexpensive. And so many people just need to understand you got to hang on between, stage 2, stage 3, hang in that coverage gap, know that discount plan and you pays roughly $2,500, which is no joke. That's a lot of money, but compared to the cost of very expensive medications, spend the $2,500, now you tip over and you're just going to pay 5% or, these copay amounts. Now, that's how Part D coverage has worked for years. These 4 stages, and depending on how much you paid, you're in one of those. Let's briefly talk about some of the changes from last year to this year. Again, we mentioned the deductible here has gone up. I should say the max deductible, so up to. And so, again, you may see that. I don't want to get into plan specifics here, but that's changed. Let's talk a little bit about the changes here, these crossed out numbers and what that means to you. the good news here is in this one, stage 2, the entrance to the donut hole has gotten higher. And I know it's only a few $100s, but that means for some people, you may not reach the donut hole this year. That's always great because then you just stay in this copay system. Now up here though, you stay in the donut hole a little higher as well. So you can see that amount went up. Otherwise, really the only other noticeable change will be down here, these copays. As I mentioned before, do have increased a little. But again, I think a statistic I saw was, 12% of Medicare enrollees reach the coverage gap. And then it was a really small percent, maybe 3 or 4% were in stage 4 here. So for most of you who are new to Medicare, you're shopping plans during this annual enrollment time, you're stage 1, stage 2 folks. Hopefully, I hope you're on just some generic medications and you are you're not paying anything for your meds. That's the goal. If we talk a little bit more about the tier system and pharmacies, that's another thing to consider as you shop plans this year. When you work with us and we look at your area, your meds, the plans, an important thing to consider is pharmacies, because many of the plans have preferred and standard network pharmacies, and the tier copay is affected by which pharmacy you go to. So both pharmacies are in network, but if you go to a preferred pharmacy, you'll have better copays or no copays. If you go to a standard pharmacy, you'll have copays. If you go out of network, you'll just pay the retail price. So that's always a tip or recommendation I have is, you could page through the book or give us a call. Make sure that the pharmacy you want to use is in at least standard network, if not preferred network, for your plan, and those can change. Also this year in 2022, I don't want to get into too many plan specifics, but there have been some plans that have consolidated many of their plans, and so what that means is if you were on one plan, that plan merged into another plan. And the only warning I will give you is that some of the premiums have gone up substantially. Now, that's not the end of the world. This is the annual enrollment period. With these changes to 2022, you can shop the market and find a plan that fits your needs and covers your medications, uses the pharmacy across the street, and all those things. Now, you can do this. You can flip through the book and highlight all of that. Medicare has a system that you can use, or you can just give us a call and I will enter your medications into our system and it just spits out right for me the lowest annual drug cost. Really straightforward. And then that way it's easy for you. You just provide your medications and you know that you have a plan that gives you the lowest annual drug costs. Maybe keeps you here. Because believe it or not, it's not entirely based on your meds. Depending on the plan you choose, you could end up in stage 3 when on another plan, you would have only ever been in stage 2. And unfortunately, again, with plans changing their copays and coinsurances each year, you have no way to know unless you shop all of the plans. So give us a call. I'll look at your medications. I'll get you priced out and find one that works for you. But again, this is Medicare's Part D coverage. 4 stages of coverage. You meet your deductible first, or your meds are exempt from that, and then you move into the copay and coinsurance stage, initial coverage. And again, that's most of you, just paying a copay when you pick up your meds, hopefully pretty inexpensive. And then if you have any other questions about the donut hole or the donut hole and beyond, comment below, ask your question. Give us a call here. We can navigate that for you and make sure you're in the best place possible. All right, that's Medicare Part D in a nutshell. That's the changes to 2022. Again, reach out if you have any other questions. We'll talk again soon.